Okay, this is day 4, I think, of talking to the camera for 10 minutes straight. And today I wanted to talk about ways that I like to grow my faith tangibly. And yeah, I think this is a great little thing because I've been struggling a little bit in my faith walk, because I just am in like a season of a lot of unknowns. Like, I graduate in May and I don't really know what your girl's doing. And there's just so many things I have to reflect on. Also, the TV is on in the living room and we've got thin walls, so pardon the noise. But I thought it would be cool to do a little collection of things that I do to grow my faith and share them with you guys, and some new methods that I haven't even heard of, haven't even tried, but I'm currently in the process of trying. So yeah, starting with the first one that really helped me grow my faith was just taking notes at church. This is one of the notebooks that I recently finished, and it's just a notebook of all my church sermons, and or if I ever go to seminars, I like to take notes in them. But something that I need to do better about, which I'm trying to implement this year, is to not just write them down, but look over them too. Because, you write them down and it's important, but then sometimes you just forget about it and you never think about it until ever, basically. And so it helps to like write things down and look back at them as well too. And maybe you can like incorporate that into your week after your Sunday sermon. Yeah, that one's really great. Another thing that has helped me a lot with my faith walk is journaling. And I do journal in a very specific way. I know people like to journal. There's so many different ways to do it, but I'm just going to share the way that I do it because I have found this to help me a lot, and it is letters to God. I'm not gonna like expose myself here, but like I've got like dear God at the top, and then like just write down everything that I'm feeling. This was actually, wow, a very heavy journal entry, but it's really cool, and I just like say dear God and then like pray my prayer, and what I do at the end is like I sign it off. I'm like, love, Danielle, which is super fun and sweet. And it's also cool to see all the prayers that have been answered. Like, I'm heavily involved in this ministry that I'm a part of, and I'm trying to find it, but yes, I prayed this prayer. I was like, this past semester I didn't get to branch out the way I wanted to, but I want to get better at that, and even more go out and get involved in the Christian community, because I look for friends to confide in, and I keep looking for godly community that'll lead myself closer to you. And then that coming school year, I got involved with the ministry I'm plugged into now, and have some of the bestest friends that I will be friends with forever, and in heaven, literally forever. Oh, isn't that fire? Anyways, so journaling, I know people just like write down their thoughts, but I like to write little letters to God. And something that I have figured out is that sometimes that can be intimidating too, like saying dear God. So sometimes I just start out by like writing my feelings and just like bare bones putting it out there, and then putting dear God at the top. It just kind of helps me like realize that, okay, all these feelings are true to me and are even truer to God, and I can bring those like negative, happy, great, positive emotions to him, whatever they may be. So journaling has been the game changer for me, I will say, in terms of growing my relationship with the Lord. Another thing is writing down my questions. This is something that I really struggled with because last summer I took a theology class. It was just like an online course that I had through my ministry, and it was great. However, I would spiral so easily because I've never really like dove into my faith in a very like academic type of way, if that makes sense. It's always been like, read my Bible and like do this and this. But like I feel like with theology it can be very scholarly, which is great because I love school and I love learning. But it did make me like think a lot and give me a lot of questions. And so what one of my friends had told me, she was like, you should write down your questions, because I would have questions in my head and then I'd like bounce off of them and then like it would spiral and I'd just be like, oh my gosh, like what do I even believe? And it would quickly go into like an overthinking mode rather than just like, oh, this is a question. And another thing, if you have questions, that is completely okay. Like I think it would be even weirder if we didn't have questions about this like sovereign, almighty, powerful God. And also questions aren't a bad thing if you are like, depending on your heart posture, because I was asking questions out of like curiosity and wanting to like know more about God. There's questions that are like you know, why are you doing this? I don't know, like I guess like questioning to like have like an I gotcha moment, or questions like to prove something wrong, which God can take it, by the way. Like you're not gonna get like smited for that, but don't feel bad about questioning or having questions for the Lord, because I would feel bad that I had all these questions and I just wouldn't ask them, because I'd be like, you know, that means I'm like not a good Christian because I've got questions. That's not true. Because like in a relationship or in a friendship with someone, like I want to know about this person, and so I'm gonna ask them questions. And so that's the same way with God. You gotta ask him questions, and sometimes he'll reveal them to you, sometimes he won't, and that is okay. There's faith. Anyways, all that to say, I wrote down my questions, and I do have like little spaces for them because I'm like, what if I get them answered? But I have all my questions written down. Not all of them, these are just a little few, and some of them were answered. Like for example, this one's really good. I feel like I need to share this to like every single person out there. My question was, why are there quotations in the Bible? ? How can they be directed if it differs with each testimony? Like how can they be direct quotes if each, like I was specifically referring to the Gospels and how like it's in quotes but it's different sometimes. And the answer is, in biblical times, quotations were not used. So in inscribing, the people of the Bible wrote dialogue plainly, and the quotations were added in later for current readers to understand what is being said out loud. And so things like that are like, okay, that one's not so much as like, God, why did you know, but I have like other questions that are like, what is the nature of the Trinity in light of God the Father knowing when the second coming is, and Jesus the Son not knowing when? And so there's like questions that are deep, and I may never know the answer to them, but they are questions nonetheless. So that one's really helpful. That one is one that I've just been doing more recently. And then moving on to a method that I have not tried before, but I am like currently in the process of trying, and it's going really well. I haven't been in my word. Like I have not been prioritizing it because I've just been so tired. My schedule is literally like, back to back, and I am like tired of that. Okay, so I had to pause the video because there was a text that I really needed to reply to. So if that disqualifies me, then yeah, there's another question that I need to reply to. 1 second. Okay, we're good to go. And that is going back to the basics. I lead a discipleship group, and one of the girls that I disciple, she was telling me this because there's 4 of us in the group, but 2, myself and this other girl, we were struggling with the same thing. Like in a way, and I've heard this a lot in ministry, like you can get kind of numb to God or like to the actions of a Christian, and I feel like that was sort of where I was heading, especially with senior year. I have just been hearing the same thing, like God's got a plan for you. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I don't like feel it. And so one of the other girl, she was like, let's just go back to the basics. And what she likes to do is read a book or read a story from when she was a little kid that really really spoke to her as a kid. And like it could be like, I think hers was Jesus feeding the 5,000. And she was like, read it and God will like show you things that you didn't even think about when you were a kid. And that's what I'm doing now to sort of like go back, because I feel like we always have this, especially with more like seasoned Christians, I guess, there is like this need, I guess, to be like in the book of Leviticus and like writing down all the context, which there's totally space for that. Like that is so important, that is so necessary to our faith walk. However, if it is coming at the cost of like, I don't even want to pick my Bible up, sometimes simplicity and going back to who we are like helps. And in the sense of like, I was a kid and I believed in God and found God like fascinating in the most simplest way. One of the stories that I'm doing is Jesus walking on water. Like that is mind-blowing, that is super cool, and I loved that as a kid. But it's easy to get wrapped into the, okay, I'm gonna do this and this and this for my Bible reading, but actually just like sitting down and listening to the stories or reading the stories that you grew up with, like the biblical stories that you grew up with, like sort of helps you bring you back to like, okay, this childlike faith of, I believe in this God and he is great. And my attempt in like being scholarly and like reading all these things is just for me to get closer to him and know him more, not in an effort to strive or not in an effort to like work my way up to salvation, because you can't earn salvation. And so that really helped a lot. And sorry, the light is like, it's making me look all striped and stuff, because I kind of match my shirt now. But just, yeah, going back to the basics and like the childlike faith that we would exude as younger believers or as like younger Christians, not necessarily by age, but just like the newness of everything. And so, yeah, be comforted in the fact that it's not going to be like a linear growth. Like it's gonna go in waves and it's gonna have its fluctuations, but that is like fine. Like that is the way like God works, and it would be kind of boring if we were just like, okay, it's only up from here. Yeah. And also something that now I'm yapping too much again. Here we go. Anyways, something that I learned yesterday was, not that I learned, but was like put into a perspective that like made sense, was that we have this expectation for like our spiritual growth to be like exponential, and it's never gonna be like that. Maybe in the first few like months of you being a Christian, or like even when everything's so new, like there's this exponential growth, but at some point like growing in faith is like a slow process. It is really what it is. It's a process. It's not like a, okay, I'm like the number one Christian ever, it is a process. And when you have like siblings or like someone you're close to and you grew up with them and you're kind of like, okay, yeah, and that this person's growing, but you're like, whatever. Like I can just say like with my siblings, I'm like, yeah, you've grown. But then you've got like this distant relative and they come to visit and you're like, oh my gosh, you've grown up so much. And you're like, huh, I guess they have grown so much since the last time that this person has seen them. And that is like how our spiritual walk is gonna be. It's not gonna feel like sometimes you're gonna read a Bible verse or a chapter in the Bible and you're like, I got nothing out of that. But you did, and it just doesn't feel like this like life-changing, like mind-blowing, altering moment. But in some little way, like it's helped you grow and become closer to the Lord. And so be comforted that it's not gonna be like this amazing faith growth journey. But it's like a process, and it's a journey you take with God, and he like delights in you and delights to have this journey with you. And he doesn't get frustrated with you when you are like feel like you're regressing, but he like wants to comfort you and like carry you and bring you to like where he wants you to be. So yeah, that's just what I've learned, and honestly I needed this video more for myself, so that's fun, because I just have been like on a kind of like spiritual lull, if that makes sense. So I hope this encourages someone out there, because it definitely helped me talking about it. Maybe you should talk to the camera for 10 minutes. Oh, it's 16 minutes now. And talk about ways that you grow your faith, because I am on fire right now. Anyways, hope you enjoy this, and I'll probably see you tomorrow for my next yap session. But yeah.